Hey, kia ora, Helen from Community Live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1354. Planning tips for international travel is what we're going to be looking at today. And so I'm actually going to show you a couple of sites to see where you can go to get some really cool information. When you're traveling abroad, guess who's decided to play? And of course, she finds a noisy, crinkly toy. And she's throwing it around. She's like a cat. She tosses it in the air and pounces on it. So anyway, sorry for the distraction. I can't lock her up in a room because I have no room to lock her up in. And I found out on her crate that she's actually broken off one of the latches. But anyway, so back to planning tips for international travel. The first thing, but when you start planning and figuring out where it is you want to go, you also may want to know some of the do's and don'ts and things like that, and checking out, do I need a passport? Do I not need a passport? Is this a safe country to travel to? And all that really cool information. If you have a travel professional, they can help you find out a lot of this information. But if you want to do your homework beforehand, so when you go to the travel professional, you say, this is where I want to go, this is what I want to see and do, this is the time frame I want to go to, you already got an idea in your head, especially if it's a country you've never been to before. I planned a trip for a couple to New Zealand, and this is the sweetest guy I have ever had the privilege of planning a vacation for him and his wife. He says, look, I just retired and it's time to get some stuff off the bucket list. He says, my wife has New Zealand on there. We've never been, and I have no clue about what there is to see and do there. But she has it on her list, and I think we should do that one first. I went, well, fortunately for you, I was born and raised in New Zealand, so you're going to get a good lot of local knowledge. And he was very happy about that. And he wanted to do it as a surprise for his wife. And then he suddenly says, I'm not going to do that. I am actually going to bring her in on the planning because she obviously wants to go to New Zealand for a reason. So she's going to want to know, and I might screw it up. So I don't want to do that. And I was like, fine, let's get her on the line and let's have a conversation. And so we did that. We planned an awesome trip to New Zealand for them. They were self-driving. And so when they self-drive, I get the map of New Zealand and I actually highlighted their route that they were going to take. And then I picked up my trusty little pen and I would write little notes on, hey, stop here and check out this. Stop here and check out the view. If it's a beautiful, clear day, stop here. And just gave them little places that they could stop along their drive when they were going from point A to point B, where they would get some fantastic views of New Zealand, see some of the scenery, some of the culture, and that sort of thing. So when you're trying to plan a trip abroad, it is always a really cool idea if you can find a travel professional who specializes in the destination you want to go to. And that's key, because if you get somebody who specializes in that spot, they've either lived there and grown up there, or they go there so many times it's like a second home to them. I have a friend of mine who is a specialist in Ireland. That's where she's from. Like I am from New Zealand. I have another friend who was born and raised in Norway. And she provides great information for her clients as well for trips to Norway. And then you have those that specialize in Egypt. And I'm sort of like, Egypt? I said, that's an interesting one. And she goes, oh, yeah, I've been there. And she rattled off how many times she had been there. And I was like, and she says, yeah, I know all the good places to go. She says, I hook up with the right guides and all that. And she does yearly group trips to Egypt. But with that knowledge, she also helps those that want to travel individually as well. So there is a good reason for going with planning with travel professionals, because if they specialize in a destination, then that trip will be more special for you, more tailored towards you, and you will get a much better experience than if you go on a tour, if you go on a tour bus, or if you try to plan it yourself. Yes, you can plan it yourself, but you may miss some of the little nuances that go along with going with a professional. And if the professional that you know is not a specialist in that area, they will know somebody who is, and they may turn around and refer you to that specialist for that particular country, because you could put together, that travel professional could put together the travel package for that particular person, for their client, and they would have an okay time. But because that travel professional may not have intimate knowledge about that area, they may miss some of the stuff that would make that trip absolutely amazing. And so they would then refer to another travel professional who is a specialist in that destination. And I have done that a few times. I have had people contact me where I have done the New Zealand planning, New Zealand Australia planning for them, because they're not a specialist in that area. That's not their expertise. And there's a lot of that goes on. I have people I refer to for different destinations within the world that I have never been to. Yes, I can take all the training courses I want, and I could read all the brochures, and I could talk to the tourism boards and all of that and get the information from them. But there is something different about a trip that is planned by somebody who knows the area, who knows that destination. They give you all the local tips. They can save you a lot of time, a lot of money, just by giving you the local tips. Oh yeah, you don't want to be staying in 4-star hotels, because 4-star hotels over there are like 5-star hotels here in the States. Or the 3-star hotels are perfectly fine to stay in. They're like the 4-star hotels here in the US, which is basically true when you go through Europe and New Zealand. European ones are a little on the smaller side. So I found out when I traveled to Europe. So what are some things that we can do ahead of time? So you're thinking of going to a place. So let me see if I can get this to work. Let's see. We're gonna share the screen tonight. So let's see if we can do this. Oh, it's working. Yay. Now I just got to go over here. All right. So this is travel.state.gov. Very full of lots of really cool information. You've got the whole section here on passports. You've got this area here on international travel, US visas, intercountry adoptions, whatever you're doing, traveling, replacing certified documents, how to get a US passport, find international travel information, get US visas. So they've got down here, US citizens in an emergency. These are the numbers that you need to call if you can't contact your nearest embassy or if you're calling back to the US. Enroll in the step.state.gov program. I will show you that one in a moment. But most people are coming here to find international travel information. In here, it has got, this is the coolest thing. You've got people think, oh, it's the government. There is a ton of information in here that helps you better prepare for when you are traveling internationally. You've got country information, driving on road safety abroad, customs and import restrictions, information for US citizens in Russia, COVID-19 country-specific information, safety and security messaging. So if you go in here, they talk about travel advisories, alerts, and stay connected. So if you go into travel advisories, this here shows you that they have a 4-step process. Number 1, if the country has a 1 on it, exercise normal precautions. Number 2, exercise increased caution. Number 3, reconsider travel. And if it's a level 4, don't go. Don't go. Seriously, don't go. And then these are other things on where you can stay up to date and all of that as well. So you can go over here to view travel advisories. And it tells you the date that they were updated and things like that. Liechtenstein. Oh, what's in there? So you could even put in here, let's put in New Zealand. Home country and see what comes up. There's no exercise normal precautions in New Zealand. There's no worries about that at all. They will talk about passport validity. We've talked about passport validity in the past. And this is how much you have left before your expiration. How much time do you have left before your expiration time? A lot of countries are actually 6 months. Cruise ships are 6 months. If you're taking a cruise, it's 6 months. And if your passport expires in less than 6 months, you may not be allowed to board the ship, or you will not be allowed to enter the country. In New Zealand, you've got 3 months beyond the planned date of departure from New Zealand. So you need to make sure you read what it says here. This says 3 months before the planned date of departure. Some will say 6 months from the date that you arrive. So you need to check that information as well. Also, blank pages in your passport required. So if your passport is well within the time before it expires, but your passport's looking a little full, you have to make sure that you have one page in your passport that is blank for the entry stamp. And then it tells you that the New Zealand Electronic Travel Authority or visa is required, and all the other bits and pieces in here. And you can type in, you can go back to the search, and let's see, Mexico's been a hot topic lately. So this is on the green, the yellow, which is increased. There are alerts. So if you go here, and here they bring up the alerts, the health alerts, the travel alerts for spring break 2023, US consulate alerts, and everything else is there as well. So just click on those, and there, and this one just says passport must be valid at time of entry. one stamp per page. So it's very easy. If you're visiting for more than 180 days, then yes, you need a passport, need a visa. So you can go here for any of the things. If things to do while you're abroad. In this section, it talks about different things that may happen while you're out of the country, whether you're living out of the country or just visiting out of the country, things that may happen while you're overseas. And then, of course, the important emergency button that will help you with information there as well. Now, they talk down here, enroll in STEP. So we're going to go up here to STEP. STEP stands for Smart Traveler Enrollment Program. This is an awesome, awesome program. It helps you get alerts. Traveling, enroll a trip and get alerts. So you can actually put your vacation in there, and it will give you any alerts that come up for that country, that area that you're traveling to. You can get travel advisories if you're staying at home, and frequent traveler, you create an account. But the benefits of enrolling in STEP is, as it says here, receive important information from the embassy about safety conditions in your destination country, helping you make informed decisions about your travel plans. Help the U.S. Embassy contact you in an emergency, whether natural disaster, civil unrest, or family emergency. So this, when you enroll in STEP program, the information is passed to the embassies, or the U.S. embassies or consulates that are going to be closest to where you're going to be traveling. That way, if anything happens back at home and somebody at home doesn't know how to get in contact with you, they don't know who your point of contact is at home, they can call, but they know that you're traveling to France, for example. So they can contact the U.S. Embassy in France and say, hey, we're trying to get hold of this. We've got this family emergency going on. And they can look up to see where it is that you're staying and help you to connect. And it says, help family and friends get in touch with you in an emergency. So I have found this program to be invaluable when I'm traveling overseas. When we did our trip to Europe, we put our European river cruise in there, the different countries we're going to be going to, the dates that we were going to be there. And it just felt really good to know that if anything happens, we had a way. And you have an app on your phone as well. And it will give you there's an app that goes on your phone, and it will give you numbers for the nearest embassies, their addresses. It will even put where your location is and that sort of stuff as well. So, it just helps when you're in a foreign country and you're not sure where to go for the U.S. Embassy or the consulate, how to get in contact with them. This app provides information, and by you providing your travel information to them, they are able to help you should anything go wrong. So that's the government stuff out of the way. And at travel.state.gov, like you saw, is also where you go to apply for passports. Okay. Or gives you information on applying for passports. Other things that you can do. Well, we can do anything like that one. We'll close that one. If you type into Google things like, I want to travel to Scotland. So it could be Scotland tourism. Excuse me. Scotland tourism, Scotland visitor guide, put the country name and then put tourism or the country name and visitor guide. And you will get this one here is Visit Scotland. I chose Scotland, the Cook Islands, and Japan, just for whatever. Because they're three very different countries with very different cultures and very different planning tools like this. But you can come up here and you can see, oops, hang on, that took me to a completely different page. Business events and Visit Scotland. So it talks about the different venues that they have, the services, why Scotland for an event. So if you're looking at doing an event in Scotland, you can do that as well. You can come here and look at the different types of events that they can do. because some people will do destination events. Then if you go back here, you've got places to go, things to do, accommodation, inspiration, travel and planning. Always look at the travel and planning. And here's why. Because it gives you information like if you're coming into Scotland from overseas. So if you're, saying, flying from the US to Edinburgh or Glasgow, you can come in here. It gives you information about the airports, flights from the US and Canada, and you can put, these ones fly direct. Flights from Europe coming in. They used to have passports, visas, and customs. So if you come to this one here, it will show you, do you need a visa? What customs do they have? Like, do they tip? That's a very important one because Americans love to tip. Not all countries accept tips. In some countries, it is actually considered bad manners to tip somebody. How to travel around Scotland and meet some of the locals, as you can see here in this picture, one of the locals. So if you go into this one here, passports and visas, do you need a passport to go to Scotland? Do you need it to travel around? Do you need a visa? What can you bring? This is another important one. Always check what you can bring into a country, because there are some countries that have some very hard and fast rules on this, and they give leeway to nobody. Turning around and saying, well, I didn't know about that, is no excuse. The information is out there. Find it. And your travel professional will help you with this too. It will also, talk about, that there's ATMs and that sort of thing where you can exchange your money and that sort of stuff as well. So it gives you some good visitor things. But I like the travel and planning bits because it gives me a lot of information. How to travel in Scotland. Passes and offers. These are always good if you're traveling within a country and you're using good value. So do they have any in here? They've got different activities and passes that for different things, so that if you're going to different areas of Scotland, there may be different areas where you can get a pass that will allow you into certain sites to go sightseeing in Scotland. I know when we were in Budapest, we had the 72-hour card in Budapest, and that for 72 hours we could travel anywhere in Budapest on their public transportation system, whether it was bus, trams, trains. We could travel on there. We could travel from the Buddha side to the Pest side and vice versa. We got a lot of mileage out of that one. We did a lot of the buses and the trams. It was awesome. And we didn't have to worry about paying. That way we didn't have to worry about paying for anything. We also got free entry into some of the museums and galleries. We got discounts into other museums and galleries. They had the baths there, which are like the public swimming pools and that, which have this mineral water in it, which is supposed to be good for you. And we either had a pass to get in there or we had a discount to get in there. I can't remember which. But you get a booklet that tells you what you can, where you can go with this pass and the different things that you can see and what your discounts are going to be at certain places and that sort of thing as well. I will tell you this, that card was worth a weight in gold because we didn't have to worry about how to get around. We just got on a thing, and of course everything's in Hungarian and we have no idea what the person on the intercom is saying. So we had to learn that this is the stop we got on it, and we're looking at the maps. Which one do we have? Well, we have to go there. So we would count how many stops we had in between. So you've got that, how to get around. This is about driving in Scotland, because in Scotland, they drive on the opposite side of the roads, on the opposite side of the vehicles than what Americans do. So this tells you all about that. And then you've got the Visitor Information Centre there as well, understanding Gaelic, and some practical information there as well. And then you've got things like accommodation, things to do, places to go. So you can use this as a stepping stone to determine how you want to get around Scotland, what you want to do, and then you go to somebody who's to your travel professional, say this is what we want to do in Scotland, this is what we want to see, and they can help you put it together. But you're not going in completely blind on things, because you are aware of passport requirements, visa requirements already, even though the travel professional will go over that with you. Cook Islands, this is my Kia ora. So you quite often hear me say Kia ora, which is this without the NA on the end. And that is New Zealand Maori is Kia ora. Kia orana is the Cook Island Maori, which is a similar language, but it's a very similar language. Excuse me, very dry tonight. So this one here is awesome. Again, you've got travel advisories into the country. You've got the story about the islands, the experiences. And I will tell you, I only got to spend 3 nights in the Cook Islands. It was amazing. Things to do. You can go lagoon cruising, fishing, guided mountain hikes, buggies, cultural nights, cycling tour, bicycle tours, all sorts of things, any special offers. How to book. Yes, it shows you how to do that. So when you come here to our islands, the main island is Rarotonga, and this here shows you the map of the islands. And this down here is Rarotonga. It's the main one. So we stayed 2 nights on Rarotonga, and we had 1 night on Arataki, which is up here. Arataki is a very interesting island. It has a lagoon in the middle of it. And if you have ever seen the Survivor series, the Survivor show, Cook Islands, this is where they were. They were on the Arataki Lagoon on one of the islands. And the lagoons has got islands on there. And we actually landed on one of the islands. And you could see the remains of one of the tribes. And then we walked straight through to the other side of the island. It was a very short, small island. And our guide pointed out to us, that one over there is where they did the tribal council. That's the island they used for the challenges. And that island over there is where the other tribe stayed. So you could actually see all of that. It was really cool. And I will tell you, a day on the Arataki Lagoon in Tavaka, which is a Polynesian catamaran, was incredible. And then you've got here their history, other islands, going green, weather and season, so you can determine when is the best time to go. It's always a good time to go. But you do have to watch that some seasons are a little wetter than others. They do have the monsoon season, but they have everything down there, whale watching from July to October. You can see the humpback whales. Let's see. Kite surfing is good all year round, but it's best during May and October when the trade wind comes in. And I don't know if they don't have a rainy season in there. But you can see now these are all in, let's switch this over to Fahrenheit. So you can see their temperatures are pretty consistent around year round. And we were there in June. It was very humid. We did get rain the day we arrived. I think if I remember correctly, that was the only day we had rain, but it was a very warm, wet rain. So, and let's see, it's got here, however, don't be fooled or put off by the rainfall. In our summer months, it's typically a brief morning and afternoon tropical showers. And yeah, it was. But it's written right here, slightly higher humidity, occasional rainfall between December and March. And you get the rain on and off during the summer season. And then it's got April, May, September, October, great times to visit, as the weather in these months are usually the perfect balance of warm temperatures and dry skies. So, finding out information like that as well. When is the perfect time to travel? What is it you want to do? When you want to go to New Zealand, you want to go, if you want to go skiing, and New Zealand has world-class skiing down there. So the best times for that is to go June through late August, early September for that. Opposite seasons. So when you're on summer vacation here in the States, if you want to go skiing in summer, go down to New Zealand and go skiing on some of their slopes down there. Just remember opposite seasons. And then, of course, you've got the different the cruises. These are fun. This is, it's behind that thing. It's Tavaka. Let's see if I can find another. No. This is a cruise schedule. So this is Tavaka right here. It's a catamaran. So you can see basically two canoes that are strapped together with flooring between the two to tie them together where the people sit, and they put a canvas cover over top. It is a really cool way to float around Arataki Lagoon. All right, let's pop over to Japan. And again, changing cultures again. So this is Japan.travel, and this is done by the Japanese Tourism Board. Excuse me. And as you can see by the photos flashing by, there's a lot to see and do. So this talks about the destination, where is it you want to go? And you can actually put up a map there, different things that you can do. Planning your trip. Remember, we always talk about planning your trip. First time visitor information. So if this is your first time going to Japan, they talk about the COVID thing. They talk about the language, the time zone they're in, Wi-Fi connectivity, plugs and electricity, what sort of plugs you're going to need, converter plugs you're going to need. Because when you are traveling internationally, you are going to need converter plugs. And there are packs that you can get where you can get, I think it's almost every country in the world. There's even just a single one that you can get where by sliding the pieces out, it gives you the correct, and they're not converters. So in some instances, you may need a converter, but in other ones, you might just need the adapter. So remember that, because a lot of the other countries will run on 220 to 230 volts, not the 110 to 120 we have here in the US. Okay, so it talks about the currency, tax-free shopping, tipping. Tipping is not practiced in Japan. In fact, it can cause discomfort and confusion if you do. A service charge is generally added to the final bill in restaurants. So don't leave tips in Japan. You will offend people. I remember the first time here in the United States where I personally received a tip when I was working on the front desk of a hotel. And I was like, oh, no, you don't need to do that. And they were insistent I take it. And my general manager came up behind me and just quietly whispered in my ear and says, take it. And I just looked at him, and he just had that, like, don't mess with me look. And so I took it very graciously, said thank you. I was extremely uncomfortable about this. I had never been tipped in my life. In New Zealand, we don't tip. And then afterwards, I said to my general manager, what do I do with this? And he says, whatever you want. I said, but I don't feel right taking his money. And he says, he offered it to you. It's a tip. And I'm like, why? And they said, because you obviously did a really good job. I said, but that's what you pay me to do. I still to this day, I've been here 26 years. I still to this day don't get my head around the tipping. I always left that stuff to Brad to do. And then, of course, he's gone, and now I have to figure it out. So please check the tipping one, because in some countries you can actually offend them by offering tips. And it also tells you what the weather's like. You've got visa information, credit cards, international tourist tax. Visitors to Japan pay 1,000 yen departure tax to expand and enhance the country's tourist thing. Tourist visitors hotline, which is a really cool thing. Your customs and duties, and even just talking about the water, drinking water, because in some countries, whatever in countries like India, don't drink the water. Always drink bottled water. Always make sure it's bought from a vendor. Check the seals before you leave to make sure that it's not. When you are finished with the bottles, this is one thing that I learned. When you are finished with the bottles in some countries where the tap water is questionable, it is puncture the bottle so it cannot be reused. That's another one. So yeah, they give you all sorts of different tips. Customs and manners is another good one to let you know. What if I did this, would I offend anybody? And that helps you too. It's like if somebody, and I know in Japan, I got told that when you're in Japan that if you've got a business card and you're presenting it to somebody, here's a card, you go like this to them, or they go like this to you, because the business card is an extension of them. So you have to treat it with respect. What I wasn't told, but I haven't been to Japan, I was just learning this. They said they present it to you and you take it. You do not write on it, because that is considered an offense. It's considered offensive and disrespectful. But then I was sort of like, what do I do with the card now? I've put my hands out. They've placed the card in my hands. I take it back graciously, bow my head, and I take it back and I look at it and thank them for it. But then I'm like, what do I do? If I put them in a pocket, will that be disrespectful? So nobody's ever told me that once you receive the business card from somebody in Japan, when you're presented it to them, what do you do with the card afterwards so that it is not offensive to them? So they never went into that portion of it, just sort of like, this is how you accept a business card. And I'm like, okay, well, what do I do next? And I was watching a training video on this, and they never went into it. They also have things like different apps that you can use in and around Japan to help you get around and things like that as well. If you're traveling with children, if you're a Muslim traveler, so you need to know about these sort of things if you're traveling with disabilities. So these are just 3 different sites from 3 completely different countries, 3 completely different cultures, and you can see how this can help you plan your trip, give you some ideas on what to expect and things like that. So I hope you have found that useful. And I'm going to go back to here. There we go. Got the right button. So I hope you found that useful and information. Like I said, go to a travel planner. But if you're researching where it is you want to go, these are some great tools that you can use to help you decide where you want to go and the times that you want to visit. Do they have certain festivals on? There will be an event. There will be somewhere in the things to do. There'll be a calendar of events that festivals that happen on certain times at certain things, so that you know, oh, they have that festival going on, I'm not interested in that, so I don't want to visit at that time because all the hotels will be booked out. Or if it's something you want to go to, you know that you have to plan in advance, well in advance, to make sure that you get hotel reservations and flight reservations and book early to get the cheaper rates. So things like that. So when you've got more in mind what it is you want to do, go to your travel professional and say, this is what I want to do, and let them help you from there on. So that's it from me for tonight. If you have a place that you want to go to and you don't know a travel professional that can help you, please feel free to reach out to us. Just private message me, and if I can't help you with that destination, I will find somebody who can, so that you have, instead of just having an okay trip, you have an amazing trip. So that's it from us for today. Have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hey, konera.